Good morning, Wanda. Good morning, good morning. At last we meet virtually.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're very busy and I just want to thank you very much.
You're hearing me fine.
Are you all
Hello?
sorted? Okay, let's go. I know you're very
hearing
busy.
you.
Are you not hearing me?
Just,
okay.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly and I see you perfectly.
I'm still not hearing you.
Okay, let me just check there. No, it's definitely on. Yeah.
I'm hearing you now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
If I put the headphones
all right.
on, it doesn't really work.
Okay. I can see you perfectly. I can hear you. And shall we go?
It's our generator, so it's going to make a noise now.
No, I can't. Do you also have here? I know we're on stage 4 now, so thank you very much for your time, Professor Markotter. I'm going to rush through the questions, so you never know when the next power failure is going to happen. Okay.
Ours just went, but at least we have the generator. So.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Now, I'm very interested to know, and I'm sure everybody else is, where does your interest in this field arise from? And especially bats. Women are normally scared of bats.
Yeah, so I'm a virologist. So I think my interest from bats comes from the fact that I'm interested in the viruses that they carry. When I was still a student, there was those movies, the outbreak movies, there was the plague book, and I always read that. And one of the things that was very much the focus in those books were the filoviruses, Ebola and Marburg, and bats are associated with them. So I originally started with rabies on bats and then moved into other viruses. But as I learned more about the bats, I also became really interested in them as a species. So a lot of my research is not just the viruses anymore. It's really also the conservation and the biology and the ecology of the bats, which are really interesting. I don't think if I ever worked on the viruses, I would have chosen bats, but that journey just started and that's where I am.
Thank you. Now, please, going to OFLEP, the One Health, expand on your OFLEP role since the implementation. You've quite stepped up to the plate there.
Yeah. So I was first selected as an expert because of my research on bats and bat pathogens and having a One Health approach. But then I was asked to co-chair. And basically what that means is really providing leadership to 26 experts and direction of where OLAP needs to go, make sure we deliver on time, but then also my interactions with the 4 UN agencies that we advise, which is the OIE, WHO, FAO, and UNEP. So it's really, as the chair, that is an important role that we need to play, that interaction between us, between them and the panel.
Okay, now how does that link all together with Future Africa Institute and the University of Pretoria?
So Future Africa is one of our flagship institutes that's really promoting transdisciplinary research. And I think One Health is probably one of the best examples of transdisciplinarity, because you need to bring animal health, human health, and environmental health together. And then on top of that, I'm now answering some of your other questions. On top of that, it's also about really bringing in communities and other role players. So if you really look at transdisciplinarity, everybody needs to be around the table. It's not just the academics driving certain answers to questions, but you need to bring in the politicians, the NGOs, the public, private sector, and communities as a central part of what we do. And that's where OLAP and what I do in the One Health global field links very well to my chair in Future Africa, that is on people, health and places, and basically One Health.
And it's a huge educational role. Because
yes, so there's a lot of advocacy, education, capacity building. You know, my research that I do on bat pathogens is very much virology focused, but what I do at Future Africa is really building capacity and training people and broader than just the university environment.
Professor Markotter, which emerging infectious diseases are currently the most problematic that you see most often?
Yeah, so I think currently we're so swamped with COVID that we think that's the only one. We still, I mean, in Africa, HIV will always be still a really prominent problem. Yes. And that goes together with tuberculosis. We still have a huge issue with that. And then there's the others that we see popping up. I mean, it's flu season now, so influenza is obviously doing the rounds again. And that is also one of we get different strains, so it's an emerging disease. Yes. And then we see these ones that we just always see popping up, you know, Marburg, Ebola, and I think after the Sierra Leone Ebola outbreak, people are really scared of those. So we always need to watch them. And I think then one of the things that we sometimes forget is all the emerging diseases that we see because of drug resistance. So TB is one of the issues, but also just antimicrobial resistance that's then leading to a lot of new pathogens that we're seeing. And I think with COVID, we sort of forgot about all of those.
You know, I actually read a paper one day on just the Amazon forest that it said there's 400 that they know of identified diseases just in that community. That's now off script, but I found that so interesting.
And especially in those regions, we're dealing with the vector-borne diseases. So you typically see Zika was one of the ones that emerged because of the mosquitoes that you have in those areas, and then yellow fevers moving into new areas. So all the vector-borne ones are probably also quite important at the moment.
Now, when is this global implementation of One Health planned, or is it going to be a staggered approach?
So I think One Health is not new. It's been something it's been an approach that we know about for quite a while. I think it's just more prominent now. So it's not really like we're starting from scratch. So there's a lot of initiatives that the UN partners has implemented around emerging infections, zoonotic plans, antimicrobial resistance. It was always based on a One Health approach. I do think what was limited is the involvement of UNEP, so the environment. So I think it's really strengthening what's already there, bringing in the environmental side more prominently. So we are rewriting some of the plans, but it's not really starting from scratch. So it is staggered, but it's also building on what is already there.
Thank you, and that answers quite a few of my questions. Now, which countries do you see are the most advanced with regards to zoonoses? I don't think there really is anybody. I don't think people ever really gave this some thought until COVID.
Yeah, I think COVID showed us that nobody was prepared. So, so I don't even want to highlight a country and say that, you know, we know how to handle these emerging zoonotic diseases, because it was very clear that nobody was prepared. I think in Africa, we're sometimes more resilient in the developing world because we deal with so many diseases. We deal with communities. We need to look at animal health because it's just an integral part of survival, actually. That we are actually much better at already doing One Health on the ground. We may be just not naming it always. But we are actually, I think, better in the developing world at addressing these problems more broadly.
Now, are female scientists sufficiently represented here in One Health? You know, we always have the STEM issue and women, and we're always trying to, and I'm sure you are a wonderful example to young girls and women. But how do you find the percentage-wise? Is it more a male-orientated society still?
I think
broken the glass ceiling.
Yeah, there's been so many initiatives to really develop women that I think on the senior level, we're quite well represented. What I still do see is that the emerging scientists are the ones who are still struggling because they need to start with a family. They don't have the necessary support system. And we're losing them out of the system. So we have these prominent senior people because you've already got your support system. The kids are a bit bigger. But on a younger level, I don't think we're doing enough. We still really need to look. It's not just about a bursary to a woman and then say go and study. It's really about creating those support systems also for them.
That's right.
And
yes,
we're not
proper
doing
mentoring.
Yes, yes. And we just basically say go and study, but what are you going to do with the kids? That support system is.
That's right. Yes. Now, Professor Markotter, where do you see yourself fitting in this overall scenario, I would say, short and long term? Are you going to stick with it and grow it? And
yes, I think my bat research will always continue. I will stay probably in academics, and there I will always follow a One Health approach. Really trying to strengthen the environmental and socio-economic part of it. We've as virologists, we basically focused on the pathogens for all these years, but we haven't really brought in the interdisciplinary aspects, like really looking how it's affecting people's lives together with looking at the viruses. So that's one thing that I will strengthen going forward, and that links very well to my Future Africa chair. And the reason why I decided to take the additional challenge of another chair was really to strengthen that part going forward. And I think it's really important that we do that in the university. So I will do that in my space in the university, but also on a national level in South Africa. So I'm involved in some governmental initiatives, and we're really looking at long-term plans of not doing things the same way, and really bringing in One Health into how we function in national governments. So I think, and that will take time, so we'll be involved in it for a while. And as long as I'm needed on the global platforms, I will support the UN agencies and some of the other agencies going forward.
Because I am so involved in content providing for women in science, I must just tell you that, and this is a compliment from the depth of my heart, that seeing, and you are relatively young compared to me, it gives us hope for the future. And I tell you, the new generation gives me hope. And you've answered so many questions here that we don't even have to go through the whole list. I'll put it all together and send it to you to vet. But I want to thank you for your time and thank you for your service from the bottom of my heart. You are a magnificent woman. How you pull it all together, I don't know, but you do. And we need more women like you.
Yeah, at least I like what I do. I think that makes a difference.
Right. Yes. If you find your passion, you never have to work another day in your life. Okay, Professor Markotter, I'm going to let you go. And thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it at Media Talk.
Thanks. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye, Professor.
Bye.
I've done it. It's 14 minutes past. Babe, she gave me lots of answers to all the questions contained in some things. Yes. Yeah, I did it.
It was too quick. Thank God for that. How did it go? All right.
Very well.
It was such a big conversation.
She's such a stunning woman.
You're going to be on there forever.
Oh, she's a stunning woman.
Listen, you want to leave the meeting? I want to leave